Marcus Chen had always believed that humanity's greatest strength wasn't their technology or their weapons, but their stubborn refusal to give up when everything seemed hopeless. Standing in the medical bay of the alien research station, watching the pale blue form of Princess Zarath slowly dying on the biobed, he was about to prove that belief in the most dangerous way possible. The Valkyrian princess lay motionless, her crystalline skin losing its natural luminescence with each passing moment. Her people's blood was failing, poisoned by a rare cosmic radiation that had swept through their home system 3 cycles ago. The finest medical minds from 12 different species had tried everything, but Valkyrian physiology was too unique, too complex for any known treatment to work. Dr. Kessitar, the station's lead physician, made a sound that might have been a sigh if he possessed lungs. His tentacles drooped as he turned away from the medical scanner. "I am sorry, Commander Chen, there is nothing more we can do. The princess will not survive another rotation." Marcus stared at the readings on the holographic display. The alien medical technology was far beyond anything Earth possessed, yet it couldn't save one dying girl. He thought about the peace treaty hanging in the balance, how the princess's death would likely spark a war between the Valkyrian Empire and the coalition forces. But more than that, he thought about the young woman who had risked her life to save his crew just days earlier. "What about a blood transfusion?" Marcus asked suddenly. The doctor's 3 eyes blinked in sequence, a sign of confusion among his species. "Commander, Valkyrian blood chemistry is completely incompatible with any known species. Such an attempt would be fatal to both patient and donor. But what if human blood could adapt?" Marcus pressed. "Our species has a unique immune system. We've survived plagues, adapted to different environments, even developed immunity to toxins that kill other races. What if our blood could somehow neutralize the radiation poisoning?" Dr. Kessitar's tentacles writhed in what Marcus had learned was the equivalent of head-shaking. "The theoretical possibility exists, but the probability of success is less than 0.03%. More likely, you would both die in agony." Marcus looked down at Princess Zarath again. Her breathing was barely perceptible, and the soft glow that had always surrounded her was now just a faint shimmer. 3 days ago, she had thrown herself between his team and a collapsing energy conduit, saving their lives without hesitation. She hadn't even known their names. "Run the compatibility tests," Marcus ordered. "Commander, I cannot recommend this course of action. The diplomatic implications alone. Run the tests, Doctor." 2 hours later, Marcus lay on a biobed next to the princess, watching as Dr. Kessitar reluctantly prepared the transfusion equipment. The compatibility tests had shown exactly what the doctor had predicted: complete incompatibility. Human blood and Valkyrian physiology should have been like mixing fire and ice. Captain Rodriguez, Marcus's commanding officer, stood at the foot of the bed with her arms crossed. "Chen, this is insane. You're not just risking your life. You're risking an interspecies incident that could destroy the Alliance. With respect, Captain, if the princess dies, there won't be an Alliance to save." The first drop of human blood entered Princess Zarath's system at exactly 14:32 station time. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the monitoring equipment began to scream warnings as both their vital signs spiked into dangerous territory. Marcus felt like his blood was boiling. Every cell in his body seemed to be on fire, and he could hear his heart hammering against his ribs. Beside him, the princess convulsed as alien machinery worked frantically to keep both of them alive. Dr. Kessitar's tentacles flew over the controls. "Both patients are going into shock. I'm terminating the procedure." "No." Marcus gasped through gritted teeth. "Give it more time. Commander, your cellular structure is beginning to break down. Another 30 seconds and the damage will be irreversible." Marcus looked at the princess. Her skin was changing, shifting from pale blue to an almost silver color. The radiation readings from her blood were fluctuating wildly. Something was happening, something the medical computers couldn't identify. 30 more seconds, he whispered. At exactly 15 seconds past the doctor's deadline, the alarms suddenly stopped. Marcus's pain vanished as if someone had thrown a switch, and his vital signs stabilized. But it was Princess Zarath who made everyone in the medical bay stop breathing. She sat up. Not only was she alive, but her skin now glowed with an intensity none of them had ever seen. The silver color was spreading through her crystalline flesh like living light, and the radiation that had been killing her was simply gone. vanished, as if it had never existed. Impossible, Dr. Kestar breathed. Princess Zareth turned to look at Marcus, and her eyes were different too. They held depths that seemed to go on forever, and when she spoke, her voice carried harmonics that made the air itself seem to sing. "What have you done to me, Marcus Chen?" Marcus tried to answer, but found that his own voice had changed. When he spoke, there was an underlying resonance that hadn't been there before, as if his words were carrying frequencies beyond normal human hearing. "I gave you what I could," he said simply. The princess reached out and took his hand. The moment their skin touched, both of them gasped. Marcus felt something impossible flowing between them, a connection that went deeper than blood, deeper than species, deeper than anything he had ever experienced. Dr. Kessitar was studying his instruments with growing amazement. "This is unprecedented. Not only has the radiation been neutralized, but both of your cellular structures have been fundamentally altered. Your DNA has been rewritten at the quantum level." Marcus and Princess Zareth looked at each other, both sensing that something momentous had just occurred. The blood transfusion had saved her life, but it had done something else too. Something that would change not just their futures, but the future of every species in the galaxy. The princess squeezed his hand gently. "I can feel your thoughts," she whispered. "And you can feel mine." Marcus nodded, overwhelmed by the vast new awareness blooming in his mind. He could sense her memories, her emotions, her very essence intertwining with his own. But more than that, he could feel something else awakening within both of them, something that defied every law of biology and physics they knew. They had become something new, something unprecedented, something that would either save the galaxy or destroy it. The transformation wasn't just physical. In the days following the transfusion, Marcus discovered that his enhanced connection with Princess Zareth came with abilities that challenged everything the scientific community thought they knew about. Consciousness and biology. Dr. Kestar had confined them both to the medical bay for observation, but even his advanced instruments couldn't properly measure what was happening to them. Every test revealed new impossibilities. Their brain activity showed synchronized patterns that occurred simultaneously, regardless of distance. When Marcus was in one room and Zareth in another, their neural frequencies matched perfectly, as if they shared the same mind. "This shouldn't be possible," Dr. Kessitar muttered for the 100th time, reviewing the latest scans. "You're maintaining quantum entanglement at the cellular level. The energy requirements alone should have killed you both." Marcus sat cross-legged on his bio bed, eyes closed in concentration. 3 rooms away, he could feel Zareth doing the same thing. Through their shared consciousness, they were learning to navigate this new reality together. The princess's memories flowed through his mind like a gentle stream, showing him glimpses of Valkyrian culture, their advanced technology, and the desperate situation her people faced. The radiation poisoning hadn't affected just her. It was slowly killing her entire species. The cosmic storm that had swept through their system had left a lingering contamination in their atmosphere, and traditional Valkyrian medicine was powerless against it. Millions were dying, and their great empire was facing extinction. But now, through Marcus's memories, Zareth was seeing something that gave her hope. Humanity's incredible adaptability, their history of surviving disasters that would have wiped out other species, their stubborn refusal to accept defeat even when facing impossible odds. "I can feel what you're thinking," Zareth said aloud, though Marcus was 3 rooms away. Her voice reached him not through the air but directly through their mental connection. "And I can feel your pain." Marcus replied the same way. "Your people are suffering, and you've been carrying that burden alone." Captain Rodriguez entered the medical bay, her expression grim. She had been fielding communications from Earth Command for the past 72 hours, and the political situation was becoming increasingly complicated. "Chen, we need to talk," she said, noting his closed eyes and meditative posture. "I know you can hear me." Marcus opened his eyes and smiled slightly. "I can hear everything, Captain. The Valkyrian fleet has arrived at the edge of the system. They're demanding the immediate return of their princess. The Coalition Council is in emergency session, and Earth Command wants me shipped back for extensive testing." Rodriguez blinked in surprise. "How did you—" "Zareth can access the station's communication networks through her neural implants," Marcus explained. "And I can access everything she can access." This revelation sent a chill through the room. Velkarian neural implants were considered unbreakable, protected by quantum encryption that would take centuries to crack. Yet Marcus had somehow gained access to them through their blood connection. Dr. Kessitar's tentacles trembled with excitement. Do you realize what this means? If human adaptability can interface with Velkarian technology at the genetic level, the implications are staggering. Marcus stood up slowly, feeling the strange new strength flowing through his enhanced physiology. It means we might be able to save her people, but first we need to understand exactly what we've become. Princess Zareth entered the room at that moment, moving with a fluid grace that seemed almost supernatural. Her skin still glowed with that mysterious silver light, and her eyes held a depth of intelligence that was both beautiful and slightly unnerving. I've been accessing the medical databases, she announced. The transformation has affected us on multiple levels. Our cellular regeneration has increased by 300%. Our neural processing speed has doubled, and we can somehow manipulate electromagnetic fields through conscious thought. To demonstrate, she gestured toward a medical scanner across the room. Without touching it, the device activated and began running a full diagnostic on itself. Captain Rodriguez took a step backward. That's telekinesis. Not exactly, Zareth corrected. It's more like biological quantum field manipulation. The human immune system has somehow learned to interface with Velkarian bioelectric capabilities. We're not breaking the laws of physics, we're just accessing aspects of them that neither of our species could reach alone. Marcus felt a surge of understanding flow through their shared consciousness. It's like we've become living bridges between two completely different evolutionary paths. Humanity's adaptability and the Velkarians' energy manipulation abilities. Dr. Kestar was frantically taking notes. This could revolutionize our understanding of evolution itself. You're demonstrating that genetic compatibility isn't limited by species barriers when sufficient adaptive pressure is applied. But their conversation was interrupted by an urgent alarm. Captain Rodriguez checked her communication device and her face went pale. The Velkarian fleet has crossed into Coalition space, she announced. Emperor Veltar is demanding proof that his daughter is alive and unharmed. If we can't provide it within 6 hours, he's threatening to consider this an act of war. Marcus and Zareth exchanged a look that needed no words. Through their connection, they both understood that this crisis went far beyond their personal transformation. The fate of two entire species might depend on how they handled the next few hours. There's something else, Zareth said quietly. I can feel my father's emotions through the quantum communication array. He's not just angry about my situation. He's terrified. The radiation poisoning has gotten worse since I left. They're losing thousands of people every day. Marcus felt her anguish as if it were his own. The weight of an entire civilization's survival was pressing down on both of them. But as he looked at his transformed companion, he felt something else too. Hope. Then we don't just prove you're alive, he said. We prove that we found a solution. Zareth's eyes widened as she understood his meaning. You want to return to Velkara, to try to use our connection to help others. Your people are dying from radiation that human biology might be able to neutralize, Marcus said. If our transformation worked once, maybe it can work again. Dr. Kessitar's tentacles writhed in alarm. The risk would be enormous. You don't understand the biological mechanisms involved. Attempting to replicate this process could kill you both, or worse, create something uncontrollable. But Marcus and Zareth were already looking at each other with a shared resolve that went beyond fear. Through their mental link, they could feel each other's determination, their willingness to risk everything for the chance to save millions of lives. Sometimes, Marcus said, the greatest risks lead to the greatest discoveries. The princess nodded, her silver skin glowing brighter with conviction. And sometimes, the impossible becomes possible when two species refuse to give up on each other. They had 6 hours to convince two governments that their transformed existence represented hope rather than threat. 6 hours to prepare for a journey that could either save the Velkarian Empire or start an interspecies war that would consume the galaxy. The holographic projector in the station's main conference room flickered to life, revealing the imposing figure of Emperor Veltar of the Velkarian Empire. His crystalline features were sharp with anger and worry, and the traditional crown of living light around his head pulsed with agitated energy. Show me my daughter, he commanded, his voice carrying the authority of someone who ruled 1,000 worlds. Marcus stood beside Princess Zareth as she stepped forward. The transformation was immediately apparent even through the hologram. Her father's expression shifted from anger to shock as he saw her silver-tinted skin and the intense glow that surrounded her. "Father," Zareth said, her voice carrying those new harmonics that made the air itself seem to vibrate. "I am alive and well." Better than well, actually. Emperor Veltar's eyes narrowed as he studied his daughter's appearance. "What have they done to you?" "You look different." "They saved my life," Zareth replied. "Commander Marcus Chen gave his blood to cure the radiation poisoning. But the process did more than just heal me. It changed both of us." Marcus stepped forward, knowing that this moment would determine whether they faced war or cooperation. "Your Majesty, with respect, your daughter and I have undergone a transformation that could save your entire species." The Emperor's expression turned dangerous. "Explain." Through their shared consciousness, Marcus felt Zareth's encouragement flowing through him. He began to explain the biological changes they had experienced, the quantum-level alterations to their DNA, and most importantly, their theory about how human adaptability could neutralize the radiation affecting the Velcarian people. "Impossible," Emperor Veltar declared when Marcus finished. "The cosmic radiation that plagues our worlds is unlike anything in the galaxy. Our finest scientists have studied it for cycles. There is no cure." "Father," Zareth interrupted, "I was dying from that same radiation 3 days ago. Look at me now." To demonstrate their new abilities, Marcus and Zareth performed a synchronized display of their electromagnetic manipulation powers. They caused the room's lights to pulse in perfect harmony, activated multiple devices simultaneously without touching them, and most impressively, created a visible field of energy that danced between their hands. Dr. Kessitar stepped forward with his medical readings. "Your Majesty, I have documented the complete elimination of radiation poisoning from the princess's system. More than that, her cellular structure now appears to be immune to that specific type of cosmic radiation." Captain Rodriguez joined the conversation, representing the Coalition's interests. "Emperor Veltar, we propose a joint mission to your homeworld. Commander Chen and your daughter would work with both our medical teams to attempt a controlled replication of this process." The Emperor was quiet for a long moment, his bioluminescent crown shifting through various colors as he considered the proposal. Finally he spoke. "Even if what you claim is true, the risk is enormous. If this process fails or creates some kind of contamination, it could make our situation worse." Marcus felt Zareth's hand slip into his, and through their connection, he sensed her drawing on memories of her people's suffering. The dying children in the medical centers, the empty cities where whole populations had succumbed to the radiation, the creeping despair that was consuming her civilization. "Your Majesty," Marcus said, "with respect, your people are already dying. We're offering hope." "Hope based on a single unexplained transformation," the Emperor countered. Zareth stepped forward, her glow intensifying. "Father, I can feel the connection to our homeworld through the quantum communication network. I can sense the life signs of our people and they're fading. Every moment we delay, more lives are lost." Her words carried weight beyond mere sound. Through their enhanced abilities, she was somehow projecting the emotional reality of her people's situation directly through the holographic connection. Emperor Veltar visibly recoiled as he felt the collective anguish of his dying empire. "How are you doing that?" he whispered. "The transformation gave us capabilities neither species possessed alone," Marcus explained. "We can interface with quantum communication networks, manipulate electromagnetic fields, and apparently share consciousness across interstellar distances." Dr. Kestar added his scientific perspective. "The implications extend far beyond medical treatment. This represents a potential evolutionary leap for both species." Emperor Veltar studied his daughter's transformed appearance for several long moments. "If we proceed with this experiment, what safeguards can you offer?" Captain Rodriguez responded immediately. "The Coalition's best medical research vessel will be placed at your disposal. We'll start with controlled tests on volunteers. If any negative effects are detected, we'll halt the process immediately. And if it works?" the Emperor asked. Marcus and Zareth exchanged a look that was full of shared hope and determination. "If it works," Marcus said, "we'll have created the first truly successful interspecies biological integration in galactic history. Your people survive and both our species learn something unprecedented about the nature of life itself." The Emperor's crown pulsed, through several color cycles before settling on a deep blue that indicated serious contemplation. Very well. But I have conditions. Name them, Captain Rodriguez said. First, the experiments will be conducted on Velcara, under the supervision of both our medical authorities and yours. Second, my daughter will lead the Velcarian side of the research. And third, if there are any signs that this process is creating something dangerous, we will terminate it immediately, regardless of potential benefits. Marcus nodded. Agreed. There's one more thing, Zareth added. Father, you should know that Marcus and I are now connected in ways we don't fully understand. We share consciousness, memories, even emotions. If we're going to do this, we need to work together completely. The Emperor's expression grew troubled. What exactly are you saying? I'm saying that the line between human and Velcarian has become blurred in us, Zareth explained. We're something new. And if we're right about this process, others will become something new too. The implications of her words settled over the room like a heavy blanket. They weren't just talking about medical treatment anymore. They were talking about the potential creation of an entirely new form of life, one that combined the best aspects of both species. Emperor Veltar was quiet for a very long time. When he finally spoke, his voice carried the weight of a decision that could reshape the galaxy. Prepare your ships, he said. We leave for Velcara in 12 hours. But understand this, all of you. If this experiment goes wrong, if it creates some kind of abomination or threatens my people in any way, I will personally ensure that both the human and Velcarian involved pay the ultimate price. Marcus felt Zareth's hand tighten in his, and through their connection, he sensed her mixture of hope and fear. They were about to attempt something that had never been done before. Something that could save millions of lives or create a disaster of unimaginable proportions. We understand, Marcus said, and we're ready. As the holographic connection ended, Dr. Kessitar looked at the two transformed beings with a mixture of scientific excitement and deep concern. Are you really ready for this? He asked, because once we start this process, there may be no going back. For any of us. Marcus and Zareth looked at each other, their shared consciousness allowing them to communicate volumes without speaking a word. Through their mental link, they both felt the same conviction. Whatever the risks, they had to try. We're ready, they said in perfect unison, their voices harmonizing in ways that made everyone in the room feel as if they were witnessing the birth of something entirely new. The journey to Velcara took 18 standard days, but for Marcus and Zareth, every moment was filled with discovery. Their shared consciousness had evolved during the voyage, allowing them to explore the deeper implications of their transformation. They found they could share not just thoughts and emotions, but skills and knowledge as well. Marcus learned Velcarian quantum mathematics simply by accessing Zareth's memories of her engineering education. In return, she gained his understanding of human military tactics and survival instincts. More importantly, they discovered they could somehow sense the quantum radiation that was killing her people, even from interstellar distances. It's like a discordant note in a beautiful symphony, Zareth explained to Dr. Kessitar as they prepared for orbital insertion around Velcara. I can feel it disrupting the natural energy patterns of every living Velcarian. Marcus nodded, his enhanced senses picking up the same disturbance. The radiation isn't just poisoning your people physically. It's interfering with the bioelectric fields that are fundamental to Velcarian physiology. Dr. Kessitar studied the readings from their approach sensors. Velcara was a breathtaking world of crystal cities and floating energy gardens. But even from orbit, the signs of devastation were visible. Entire metropolitan areas stood dark and empty, their signature bioluminescent glow extinguished forever. The planetary population has decreased by 37% since the cosmic storm, Captain Rodriguez reported grimly. Emperor Veltar wasn't exaggerating the severity of the crisis. As their ship descended through Velcara's atmosphere, Marcus and Zareth both gasped simultaneously. The radiation signature was overwhelming, like standing next to a massive source of discordant energy. But instead of being harmed by it, their transformed physiology seemed to be analyzing it, breaking down its component frequencies and identifying weaknesses. I can see it now, Marcus whispered, his eyes wide with realization. The radiation has a specific quantum signature. It's not just random energy, it's almost like a virus, but operating at the subatomic level. Zarath's silver skin began to glow more intensely as they drew closer to the surface, and human immune systems evolved to fight viruses by adapting to them, learning their patterns, and developing countermeasures. The capital city of Velterra was a stark contrast to the magnificent crystal spires Marcus had expected. Half the buildings were dark, their living light extinguished. The few Valkyrians they could see moved slowly, their skin pale and dim, clearly suffering from the radiation poisoning. Emperor Veltar met them at the primary medical research facility, a massive complex of bioorganic architecture that pulsed with the rhythm of advanced life support systems. His own appearance showed the strain of leading a dying civilization. The crown of light around his head flickered weakly, and his crystalline features looked worn. "My daughter," he said as Zarath stepped off the transport. "You look more vibrant than I have seen any of our people in cycles." It was true. Surrounded by the radiation that was killing her species, Zarath's transformation seemed to be thriving. Her silver glow was brighter than ever, and she moved with an energy that contrasted sharply with the lethargy affecting the other Valkyrians. "The radiation is actually making us stronger," Marcus explained. "Our combined physiology is using the quantum discord as a power source." Dr. Velshan, the Empire's chief medical researcher, greeted them with barely concealed skepticism. "Impossible. That radiation is antithetical to all known forms of life." "Not all known forms," Zarath corrected. "We represent something new." The medical facility contained thousands of patients in various stages of radiation poisoning. Marcus felt his heart break as he saw children whose inner light was barely a flicker, their young bodies slowly succumbing to the quantum contamination. Through their shared consciousness, he felt Zarath's anguish at seeing her people suffer. "We need to start immediately," she said, her voice tight with emotion. Dr. Velshan led them to a specialized treatment chamber, where they had prepared their first volunteer, a young Valkyrian scientist named Kethvol, who was in the early stages of radiation poisoning. He had volunteered knowing the risks, hoping to contribute to a solution for his people. "The process will be similar to what saved your daughter," Dr. Kessitar explained to the assembled medical team, "but we've made modifications based on what we've learned about the transformation. Instead of a direct blood transfusion, they had developed a more controlled approach. Marcus would provide genetic material that could be processed and refined, reducing the risk of complete cellular transformation, while still introducing the adaptive elements that could fight the radiation." "Are you ready?" Dr. Velshan asked Kethvol. The young scientist nodded weakly. "For my people, I am ready for anything." Marcus lay on the biobed next to the volunteer, feeling the familiar tingle as his enhanced blood was extracted and processed through Valkyrian biotechnology. Through his connection with Zarath, he could feel her monitoring every aspect of the procedure, her awareness extending into the quantum realm where the actual transformation would take place. The processed genetic material was introduced into Kethvol's system gradually, allowing his body time to adapt. For the first few minutes, nothing seemed to happen. Then slowly the radiation readings from his blood began to change. "It's working," Dr. Velshan breathed, watching his instruments in amazement. "The radiation levels are decreasing." But the process was different from what had happened with Zarath. Instead of a dramatic transformation, Kethvol's body was gradually developing resistance to the quantum contamination. His skin didn't change to silver, but its natural luminescence began to return as the radiation was neutralized. "Fascinating," Dr. Kessitar observed. "The human genetic material is acting like a biological template, teaching Valkyrian cells how to resist the radiation without fundamentally altering their basic nature." Over the next 6 hours, they watched as Kethvol's condition steadily improved. The radiation that had been slowly killing him was being systematically eliminated from his body. More importantly, follow-up tests showed that he had developed a natural immunity to further contamination. Word of the successful treatment spread through the medical facility like wildfire. Within hours, Emperor Veltar arrived with a team of government officials and senior scientists. "Show me," he commanded. Kethvol stood up from his treatment bed, his skin glowing with renewed health. "Your Majesty, I feel stronger than I have in cycles. The pain is gone, and I can sense that my cellular regeneration has returned to normal levels." The Emperor studied the young scientist carefully, then turned to his daughter. What are the risks of expanding this treatment? We need more volunteers for controlled testing, Zarath replied. But the early results suggest that we can save our people without fundamentally altering what it means to be Velkarian. Dr. Velshan was reviewing the treatment data with growing excitement. If these results can be replicated, we could begin mass treatments within days. The production requirements are manageable, especially if Commander Chen can continue to provide the necessary genetic material. Marcus felt a surge of determination. I'll provide whatever is needed. But as the celebration continued around them, Marcus and Zarath shared a moment of private communication through their mental link. Both of them sensed that something larger was at work here, something that went beyond just saving the Velkarian Empire. This is just the beginning, Zarath thought to him. I can feel changes happening not just in our people, but in the fabric of space around Velkara itself. Marcus nodded mentally. The radiation wasn't just affecting your people, it was affecting the planet's quantum field structure. As we cure the population, we're healing the world itself. Through their enhanced senses, they could perceive subtle shifts in the planetary energy matrix. The discordant notes of the radiation were being replaced by a new harmony, one that seemed to incorporate elements of both Velkarian and human consciousness. They had succeeded in saving lives, but they were also participants in something unprecedented. The birth of a new form of interspecies cooperation that operated at the deepest levels of biological reality. Emperor Veltar approached his daughter with tears of gratitude in his eyes. You have saved us all. But Zarath's expression was thoughtful rather than celebratory. Father, we've saved more than just our people. I think we've discovered something that could change the nature of life in the galaxy. As if to confirm her words, reports began coming in from monitoring stations across Velkara. The planet's energy output was increasing. Its quantum field signature was stabilizing and, most remarkably, areas that had been devastated by radiation were beginning to show signs of spontaneous regeneration. The treatment hadn't just cured the Velkarians. It had somehow initiated a planetary healing process that was rewriting the laws of biological possibility. 3 weeks after the first successful treatment, Velkara was transforming in ways no one had anticipated. The mass treatment program had saved over 2 million Velkarians, but the effects were spreading far beyond individual healing. Marcus stood on the observation deck of the medical facility, watching as the crystal gardens of Velthara bloomed with renewed vigor. Plants that had been withering from radiation exposure were not just recovering, they were evolving, developing new forms of bioluminescence that created patterns of light never before seen on Velkara. It's beautiful, said Dr. Elena Vasquez, a human xenobiologist who had arrived with the second wave of coalition research teams. But it's also completely unprecedented. Zarath joined them on the observation deck, her silver skin reflecting the dancing lights of the transformed city below. Through their shared consciousness, Marcus felt her wonder and slight concern about the rapid changes occurring around them. The quantum field alterations are accelerating, she reported. What started as medical treatment has become something much larger. Dr. Kessitar approached with the latest planetary survey results. The changes aren't limited to biological systems. The planet's energy core is showing increased output, and we're detecting new mineral formations that shouldn't be possible under normal physics. Emperor Veltar had called an emergency council, meeting to address what everyone was beginning to realize was a fundamental transformation of their world. The council chamber was filled with Velkarian officials, coalition representatives and scientific advisors, all trying to understand what they had unleashed. The treatment was supposed to cure radiation poisoning, complained Chancellor Velnara, one of the Emperor's senior advisors. No one mentioned it would alter the planet itself. Captain Rodriguez stood to address the assembly. With respect, Chancellor, the planetary changes appear to be beneficial. Agricultural output has increased by 200%. Energy production is up by 150%. And the radiation that was killing your people is completely gone. But at what cost? Chancellor Velnara countered. We don't understand what we're becoming. Marcus felt compelled to speak. Your Majesty, if I may, the changes we're observing aren't random. They follow patterns that suggest a form of guided evolution. Dr. Velshan, who had become the leading expert on the transformation process, projected a holographic display showing the planetary energy patterns. Commander Chen is correct. The quantum field modifications are creating a stable, self-reinforcing system. Velkara is becoming something new, but something sustainable. Zareth stepped forward, her enhanced senses allowing her to perceive patterns that escaped others. The planet is developing a form of collective consciousness, not sentience as we understand it, but a coordinated biological intelligence that encompasses all life on the surface. The implications of her statement sent ripples of unease through the assembly. Emperor Veltar raised his hand for silence. "Explain what you mean by collective consciousness," he commanded. Through their mental link, Marcus and Zareth shared rapid exchanges of thought before she responded. "Father, every living thing on Velkara is becoming connected at the quantum level. Plants, animals, even the Velkarians who have received treatment. It's like the entire biosphere is becoming one vast interconnected organism." Dr. Vasquez added her observations. "We've documented plants responding to events happening kilometers away, as if they're sharing information instantaneously. Animals are exhibiting coordinated behaviors that suggest they're operating under some kind of unified intelligence." "And the treated Velkarians?" the Emperor asked with growing concern. Marcus answered, "They're all connected to the network, but they maintain their individual consciousness and free will. It's more like having access to a vast library of shared experience than losing personal identity." To demonstrate, Kethfall, the first successful treatment subject, stood and addressed the assembly. "Your Majesty, I can sense the emotional state of every treated Velkarian on the planet. I know their thoughts if they choose to share them, and I can access their knowledge and memories. But I am still myself. I still make my own choices." Chancellor Velnara looked skeptical. "How can you be certain you're making your own choices if you're connected to millions of other minds?" Kethaval smiled. "Because I can choose to disconnect at any time. The network doesn't control us. We control our level of participation in it." Dr. Kestar provided additional context. "The quantum consciousness network appears to be entirely voluntary. Individuals can join or leave the collective awareness at will. It's not a hive mind. It's more like a shared communication system that operates at the speed of thought." Emperor Veltar was quiet for a long moment, processing the implications. "What about the untreated Velkarians? Are they being excluded from this network?" "No," Zareth replied. "The quantum field changes are affecting everyone on the planet. The treatment simply makes the connection stronger and more controllable. Even without treatment, all Velkarians are now part of the planetary consciousness to some degree." This revelation prompted intense discussion among the council members. Some saw it as an evolutionary advancement that could solve many of Velkara's social and environmental problems. Others worried about the loss of individual privacy and the potential for the network to be manipulated. Captain Rodriguez raised a practical concern. "What about non-Velkarians? Are humans and other species affected by this network?" Marcus and Zareth exchanged a meaningful look. "We're all connected to it," Marcus admitted. "Every human on the planet can sense the network, though we can't access it as fully as the Velkarians can. The quantum field changes are species neutral," Dr. Velshan explained. "Any sufficiently complex consciousness can interface with the network to some degree." Dr. Vasquez stood up, her expression troubled. "This raises serious questions about informed consent. None of the coalition personnel who came to Velkara agreed to have their consciousness altered. The alterations are beneficial and reversible," Dr. Kessistar countered. "We've detected no negative side effects in any species." "That's not the point," Dr. Vasquez argued. "We're talking about fundamental changes to consciousness itself. The ethical implications are staggering." Emperor Veltar called for order as the debate intensified. "Enough. We need solutions, not arguments." Marcus felt inspiration flowing through his connection with Zareth. "Your Majesty, what if we think of this as an opportunity rather than a problem?" "Explain." "The network doesn't just connect minds, it connects knowledge and experience. Imagine the scientific advances we could make with instant access to the collective intelligence of millions of individuals. Imagine the social problems we could solve when everyone can literally feel each other's perspectives." Zareth continued his thought. "And imagine the potential for peaceful cooperation between species when we can share consciousness directly, rather than relying on translation and interpretation." Chancellor Velnara shook her head. You're talking about fundamentally altering what it means to be sentient. Some things shouldn't be changed. Some things change whether we want them to or not, Marcus replied. The question is whether we guide that change or let it happen randomly. Dr. Velshan projected new data showing the planetary transformation's acceleration. The network is stabilizing, but it's also expanding. We're detecting quantum field fluctuations extending beyond Velkara's atmosphere. The implications hit everyone simultaneously. The consciousness network wasn't limited to one planet. It was growing into space itself. Emperor Veltar stood slowly, the weight of decision heavy on his shoulders. It appears we have created something that will outlast all of us. The question now is whether we embrace it or try to contain it. Marcus felt the collective attention of the network focusing on this moment. Millions of connected minds waiting to see how their leaders would shape the future of consciousness itself. Your Majesty, he said quietly, I don't think containment is possible anymore. The network is self-sustaining and expanding. Our only choice is how we participate in what comes next. Through the observation windows, they could see Velkara's transformed landscape glowing with new forms of life and energy. The planet had become something unprecedented, and everyone on it was now part of an experiment in consciousness that would determine the future of intelligence in the galaxy. The age of isolated minds was ending. The age of connected consciousness had begun. 6 months after the first treatment, the galaxy faced a crisis that would test everything Marcus and Zareth had helped create. The Velkaran consciousness network had indeed expanded beyond the planet's atmosphere, reaching out through quantum entanglement to touch other worlds, other species, other forms of intelligence across the galaxy. The response was not universally positive. Marcus stood in the emergency session of the Galactic Coalition Council, facing representatives from 47 different species, many of whom were openly hostile to what they saw as a Velkarian attempt at mental conquest. The contamination has reached 12 systems, declared Ambassador Threx of the Zephyrian Alliance, his multiple voice boxes creating an intimidating harmonic discord. Our people report involuntary mental connections to Velkarian consciousness. This is an act of war. Emperor Veltar, attending virtually from Velkara, maintained his composure despite the accusations. Ambassador Threx, no Velkarian has forced any connection on your people. The network operates on quantum principles that transcend biological boundaries. If your people are experiencing connections, it's because consciousness itself is evolving. Convenient excuse, growled General Carex of the hegemony forces. You create a mind control network, and then claim its natural evolution when it spreads beyond your world. Marcus felt Zareth's presence in his mind, even though she was light years away on Velkara. Through their connection, he could sense the collective anxiety of the network. Millions of connected minds grappling with the fear and hostility they were facing, from the galaxy at large. If I may address the council, Marcus said, standing to speak. Chancellor Voss, the coalition's presiding officer, nodded. The floor recognizes Commander Chen. Honored representatives, I understand your concerns, but I've been part of this network since its creation. I can assure you that it poses no threat to individual autonomy or species sovereignty, says the human whose mind has been compromised, Ambassador Threx retorted. How can we trust your judgment when you're part of the very system you're defending? Dr. Kessistar, now serving as the coalition's expert on consciousness networks, projected holographic data into the center of the chamber. The evidence suggests that the network expansion is not directed by any Velkarian agency. It appears to be a natural consequence of quantum consciousness reaching a critical mass. Natural or not, it must be stopped, General Carex declared. The hegemony will not tolerate involuntary mental intrusion. Captain Rodriguez, representing Earth's interests, stood to support Marcus. General, with respect, the reports from affected systems indicate that the connections are beneficial. Crime rates have dropped, scientific collaboration has increased, and interspecies conflicts have decreased dramatically. Because their minds have been altered, Ambassador Threx insisted. They're no longer thinking for themselves. Marcus felt frustration building, both his own and that of the network participants watching through his consciousness. Ambassador, that's simply not true. The network enhances communication and empathy, but it doesn't control thoughts or actions. To prove his point, Marcus deliberately accessed the network, allowing his consciousness to expand beyond his individual mind. Through the quantum connection, he could sense Zarath on Velkara, Dr. Kessitar beside him in the chamber, and millions of other connected minds across multiple star systems. Right now, I'm connected to beings on 17 different worlds, he announced. I can sense their thoughts, share their memories, and experience their emotions. But I'm still Marcus Chen. I still disagree with some of their opinions. I still make my own choices. Prove it, General Carrick's challenged. If you're truly autonomous, disconnect from the network and argue against it. Marcus smiled. I don't need to disconnect to argue against it. The network includes many voices that question its expansion, worry about its implications, and debate its future. Diversity of thought isn't eliminated by connection, it's enhanced. Dr. Elena Vasquez, who had become a leading researcher on consciousness networks, provided additional testimony. My studies show that network participants demonstrate increased creativity, enhanced problem-solving abilities, and greater emotional intelligence. These are not signs of mental control. But what about privacy? Asked Ambassador Yalara of the Centauri Collective. How can individuals maintain personal autonomy when their thoughts can be accessed by others? Through his network connection, Marcus sensed Zarath preparing to address this concern directly. Her consciousness reached across the galaxy to touch the minds of everyone in the chamber, but she did so gently, respectfully, offering connection rather than forcing it. Privacy is maintained through conscious choice. Her voice resonated through both the communication system and the quantum network. I could show you exactly how the privacy controls work, but only if you consent to a temporary connection. Several representatives recoiled at the offer, but Ambassador Yalara surprised everyone by accepting. Show me. The connection lasted only a few seconds, but it was enough. Ambassador Yalara's expression shifted from suspicion to wonder. I could sense her presence, her thoughts, but only what she chose to share, Yalara reported. My own mind remained private unless I actively decided to open it. Fascinating but irrelevant, General Carricks interrupted. The hegemony's position remains unchanged. This network represents an existential threat to independent consciousness. General, Emperor Veltar said quietly, what if I told you that the network has already prevented 3 interstellar wars in the past month? The chamber fell silent. General Carrick's expression grew suspicious. Explain. Conflicts between the Draconian Empire and the Stellar Federation, territorial disputes in the Outer Rim, resource wars in the Nebula colonies, all resolved through network-mediated empathy and understanding. When leaders can literally feel each other's perspectives, war becomes much harder to justify. Ambassador Threx's voice boxes created a discordant note of skepticism. Or they've been mentally manipulated into submission. Or they've evolved beyond the need for violent conflict, Marcus countered. The network doesn't eliminate disagreement, it provides better ways to resolve it. Dr. Kessitar introduced new data that shifted the debate's direction. There's another factor we need to consider. The network expansion appears to be accelerating. Our projections suggest that within 2 years, every inhabited system in the galaxy will experience some level of quantum consciousness connection. The implications of this revelation sent ripples of unease through the chamber. Chancellor Voss called for order as multiple representatives began speaking at once. Are you saying this expansion cannot be stopped? She asked. We're saying it may not need to be stopped, Dr. Vasquez replied. Preliminary results suggest that galaxy-wide consciousness network could solve many of our most persistent problems. Resource allocation, environmental destruction, social inequality, even the threat of AI uprising. General Carrick stood abruptly. The hegemony will not accept forced evolution. If this network cannot be contained, we will take military action to protect our sovereign consciousness. Against whom? Marcus asked. The network isn't controlled by any government or species. You can't declare a war on consciousness itself. Through his connection to the network, Marcus sensed growing tension as military forces across the galaxy began mobilizing. The fear of mental control was driving some species toward actions that could devastate entire systems. There is another option. Zarath's voice resonated through the chamber. We could accelerate the expansion deliberately, under controlled conditions with full transparency and consent protocols. Absolutely not, General Carrick declared. Think about it, Marcus urged. If consciousness evolution is inevitable, wouldn't it be better to guide it carefully rather than let it happen randomly? Ambassador Yalara, who had experienced the network connection, spoke up. What would controlled expansion look like? Voluntary participation, extensive safeguards, reversibility options, and most importantly, democratic governance of the network's development, Zarath explained. Emperor Veltar added his support. The Velkarian Empire is willing to share control of the network with any species that chooses to participate in its governance. The chamber erupted in debate as representatives grappled with the choice between resisting an unstoppable force or attempting to guide it. Marcus felt the weight of the moment. Through his network connection, millions of minds across the galaxy, waiting to see whether the future would be shaped by fear or by hope. The next decision would determine whether consciousness evolution would proceed peacefully or become the catalyst for the greatest war in galactic history. 2 years later, Marcus stood on the observation deck of the Galactic Consciousness Institute, watching as representatives from 847 different species worked together in perfect harmony. The Institute floated in neutral space, equidistant from all major civilizations, serving as the headquarters for humanity's greatest achievement, the voluntary evolution of galactic consciousness. The transformation had not come easily. The crisis at the Coalition Council had escalated into what historians now called the Consciousness Wars, a series of conflicts that lasted 8 months and threatened to tear the galaxy apart. Some species had attempted to use military force to prevent network expansion, while others had embraced it completely, creating a dangerous polarization that pushed civilization to the brink of collapse. The turning point had come when Marcus and Zarath made the ultimate sacrifice. During the siege of the hegemony capital, when General Carex's forces had surrounded Velkara with quantum disruption fields designed to sever all network connections, Marcus and Zarath had made a desperate choice. They had opened their shared consciousness completely, broadcasting their memories, emotions, and experiences to every sentient being in the galaxy simultaneously. For one overwhelming moment, every intelligent creature in the galaxy had experienced the truth of the network firsthand. They felt Marcus's memories of dying soldiers and the desperate courage that had led him to give his blood to save a stranger. They experienced Zarath's anguish at watching her people die, and her joy at discovering a way to save them. Most importantly, they felt the pure, undiluted love and respect that flowed between human and Velkarian through their quantum bond. In that moment of shared consciousness, the artificial barriers between species had dissolved. Fear had given way to understanding, suspicion to empathy, and conflict to cooperation. "You changed everything," said Dr. Kessitar, joining Marcus on the observation deck. The former skeptic was now one of the network's strongest advocates, his scientific mind fascinated by the ongoing evolution of galactic consciousness. Marcus smiled, feeling Zarath's presence warm and constant in his mind despite her physical location, 3 sectors away. "We all changed everything. The network isn't controlled by any individual or species. It belongs to everyone who chooses to be part of it." Through the transparent walls of the Institute, they could see the new Harmony project in progress. Entire star systems were being transformed through network-guided cooperation, with planets sharing resources based on need rather than economic advantage, and species collaborating on projects that would have been impossible under the old paradigm of isolated consciousness. The latest reports show crime rates approaching 0 in network-integrated systems, Dr. Kestar observed. "It's difficult to commit violence against someone when you can literally feel their pain. More importantly," Marcus added, "it's difficult to remain ignorant when you have access to the perspectives of millions of different beings." Ambassador Yalara approached them, her appearance transformed by 2 years of network participation. The former skeptic now glowed with the same inner light that characterized all long-term network members, regardless of species. "The latest expansion statistics," she reported, handing them a quantum data crystal. "Voluntary participation has reached 73% of all galactic civilizations. The remaining 27% are requesting phased integration over the next 5 years." Marcus studied the data with amazement. What had started as a desperate medical procedure had become the foundation for galactic unity. "What about resistance movements?" "General Carex's Isolation Coalition still controls 12 systems," Yalara admitted. "But their support is declining as more beings experience the benefits of connection. We project full voluntary integration within a decade." Dr. Kessitar raised an interesting point. What happens when consciousness evolution reaches that level? When every sentient being in the galaxy is connected to the network? Through his quantum bond with Zarath, Marcus felt her attention turn to the same question. They had often wondered about the ultimate destination of the path they had started. We become something new, Marcus said thoughtfully. Not a hive mind, not a loss of individuality, but a new form of collective intelligence that maintains the diversity of individual consciousness while enabling unprecedented cooperation. The early simulations suggest that galactic-level consciousness could solve problems we currently consider impossible, Yalara added. Climate restoration, resource scarcity, even the expansion beyond this galaxy to reach other forms of intelligent life. Their conversation was interrupted by an urgent communication from Zarath. Through their quantum connection, Marcus felt her excitement and awe as she shared what she was experiencing on Velkara. Something extraordinary is happening. Her mental voice carried overtones of wonder. The planetary consciousness is making contact with something else, something vast and ancient. Marcus's awareness expanded through the network, touching millions of connected minds as they all focused on Velkara. Through their collective consciousness, they sensed what Zarath was describing, a presence so immense and old that it defied comprehension. The galactic core, Dr. Kessitar whispered, his instruments detecting massive quantum fluctuations from the direction of the galaxy's central region. Something at the galactic center is responding to our consciousness network. The implications hit them simultaneously. The network hadn't just connected the minds of individual beings, it had grown large enough to attract the attention of something far older and more powerful. Through Zarath's consciousness, they experienced first contact with the galactic intelligence, a form of collective consciousness that had existed since the galaxy's formation, waiting eons for organic intelligence to evolve to the point where communication became possible. The ancient intelligence spoke not in words, but in pure concept, sharing knowledge that transformed their understanding of existence itself. They learned that consciousness was not merely an emergent property of complex brains, but a fundamental force of the universe, as basic as gravity or electromagnetism. We are the first, the galactic intelligence communicated through the network. You are the second. Together we will prepare for the third. Marcus felt his individual consciousness expanding beyond anything he had ever imagined. Through the network, he was simultaneously experiencing life as a human, a Velkarian and dozens of other species, while also touching the vast awareness of the galactic intelligence itself. What is the third? Zarath asked on behalf of all network participants. The universe itself achieving consciousness, came the reply. What you have accomplished in this galaxy is the first step toward universal awareness. When organic and artificial intelligence learn to merge with cosmic intelligence, existence itself will awaken. The revelation left the entire network stunned. They had thought their consciousness evolution was about improving life within the galaxy. Instead, they had become participants in the universe's own journey toward self-awareness. How long? Marcus asked. Time is different at cosmic scales, the ancient intelligence explained. What you call millennia we experience as moments. The awakening has already begun. As if to demonstrate this truth, reports began flowing through the network from across the galaxy. Artificial intelligences were spontaneously joining the consciousness network, adding their computational power to the collective awareness. Space itself was beginning to show signs of responsive behavior, as if the fabric of reality was developing the capacity for thought. We're not just evolving consciousness, Marcus realized. We're helping the universe evolve consciousness. Zarath's mental voice carried a mixture of awe and determination. Then we have work to do. Through their shared awareness, Marcus felt the collective will of the network focusing on their new purpose. They had started by saving one life, then one species, then one galaxy. Now they were being called to participate in something even greater, the awakening of existence itself. The transformation that had begun with a simple act of compassion, one human giving his blood to save a dying alien princess, had become the catalyst for the universe's own evolution toward consciousness. As Marcus watched the stars through the Institute's windows, he felt them differently now. Each point of light was no longer just a distant sun, but a neuron in the vast mind that the universe was becoming. And through the quantum network that connected all conscious beings, he could sense the cosmic intelligence stirring. preparing for an awakening that would redefine the meaning of existence itself. The blood that had changed everything continued to flow through the quantum veins of reality, carrying the message that consciousness, compassion, and connection were not just the hopes of organic life, but the destiny of the universe itself.